Your interactions with others consume as much, if not more, time than any other part of your day. Even technical workers spend up to 75% of their time communicating with coworkers, and you can greatly increase your effectiveness and your time efficiency by improving the quality of your communications. Some of the biggest time wasters in life are, number one, misunderstandings in relationships, leading to anger, frustration, unhappiness, and requiring an enormous amount of time to clear up and get back to normal, if ever. Remember, most of your problems in life talk back. Perhaps 85% of your happiness or unhappiness in life involves other people, and miscommunications with other people is a major source of time wastage. Number two, misunderstandings at work, leading to your working at the wrong job at the wrong time, for the wrong reason, perhaps at the wrong level of quality, and often for the wrong person. Some of the most stressful times of our lives revolve around misunderstandings at work, especially miscommunications with our boss. The number one complaint of employees is not knowing what's expected, being kept in the dark. The third biggest time waster is poor delegation. Poor delegation to others or from others, leading to mistakes and frustration on the part of both the boss and the employee. It's generally assumed that everybody does the very best they can with what they have, but poor delegation often causes even the most sincere and talented people to do poor work and to be frustrated and unhappy. A fourth time waster is unclear lines of authority and responsibility, which is not knowing who's supposed to do what and by when and to what standard of quality. A question that I often ask in my management seminars is, how many of your employees know exactly why they're on the payroll, exactly what they're expected to do, and in what order of priority? And most managers will admit that most of their people don't know those things. Number five, poor or incomplete information, leading to erroneous assumptions and conclusions. It's amazing how often we jump to conclusions or make false assumptions because we are working on incomplete information. A sixth time waster in working with others is aimless meetings, proceeding without an agenda, without direction, or without closure. Meetings that start and stop with no particular resolution, with no specific assigned responsibilities, and with no deadlines. A seventh time waster in working with others is lack of or unclear communications on important matters affecting a person's work or personal life, which is defined as not knowing what's going on. In fact, the two of the biggest motivators in the world of work are being in the know, being fully informed about what's going on in the company, and knowing clearly what's expected of a person. 84% of chief executive officers agree that your ability to communicate effectively at work is the key skill of success. Almost all successful men and women today in the world of work, politics, business, and other organizations are there because of their ability to communicate effectively with others. The reason we're talking about working with others is because effective communication is a key time management skill, especially with regard to setting goals and objectives and delegation of tasks and responsibilities. Now, here's a good rule. Never assume that the other person understands until he or she has fed it back to you in his or her own words. And never assume that you understand until you've fed it back or explained it in your own words. In fact, it is a truism that we only understand something to the degree to which we can explain it to another person. And here's another rule. In interacting with others, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people get this rule backwards. They're so busy trying to get other people to understand them that they never take the time to understand the other. So seek first to understand. Strive to understand and to listen to what the other person is saying, and then take the time to have the other person understand you. There's a law that was developed by David Ricardo almost 200 years ago called the Law of Comparative Advantage, which is a terribly important idea for the modern employee. It simply says this: you should assign, delegate, or have someone else do any job that can be done at a wage less than you earn or that you desire to earn. Let me explain that. If your goal is to earn $30,000 a year, that works out to approximately $15 per hour. It means that you should hire someone to do anything that pays less than $15 an hour so that you can spend more time doing $15 an hour work. If you want to earn $100,000 per annum, It means that you want to earn $50 per hour. You can't earn $50 per hour if you're getting your car washed, picking up your groceries, or dropping off your dry cleaning, for the simple reason that that kind of work doesn't pay $50 an hour. The basic rule is this: if you want to earn $50 an hour, you have to do $50 an hour work for 7 or 8 hours every single working day. And if you do not do $50 an hour work, in the final analysis, you won't end up earning the money. This rule applies to hiring a bookkeeper, typing, shopping, house cleaning, car washing, anything. The key to effective delegation in your life, whether you're a boss or an employee, is to be continually looking for ways to outsource, to delegate, or to do things that pay a lower hourly rate than you desire to earn. It's the only way that you'll have enough time to concentrate on doing the kind of work that will pay you the kind of money that you're worth. So here are some things to ask with regard to delegating and outsourcing and hiring other people to do parts of your work so you can do the parts of the work that pay the most. First of all, who can do the job instead of you? Remember, you have to delegate everything possible in order to have enough time to do just the things that are most important. Second is, who can do the job better than you? One of the characteristics of effective managers and effective leaders is they have the ability to find people who are superior to them in specific ways. Number 3, who can do the job at less expense than you? Many companies are finding that they can outsource major parts of their operations to companies who specialize in that area, and these companies on the outside can actually do the job cheaper than they can on the inside. Number 4, can the activity be eliminated altogether? What would happen if the job wasn't done at all? And number 5, can the time you spend doing this task be reduced? Remember, the only way that you can maximize the value of your return on time spent working with others is to be continually thinking of how you can apply it to a higher and better use. So here are 7 ways to get more done. Number 1, you can work harder with a greater concentration of personal power. You can work more intensely. You can focus on your work and work with less interruption, less diversion, less distraction. You can work hard, which is a secret to success. Number 2, you can work faster. You can pick up the pace. As we've talked about before, you can develop a faster tempo. Some people who work hard and work fast get more done in a single day than many people get done in a week. Number 3, you can batch your tasks. You can do a series of similar jobs together, thereby taking advantage of the learning curve. Number 4, you can do more important things. You can work on higher value tasks. You can work on things that have a higher potential payoff rather than things that have a low payoff. Number 5, you can do things that you're better at. You'll probably do these things in a higher quality fashion, and they'll probably be easier for you, so you get more of them done in the same period of time. Number 6, you can make fewer mistakes. You can take the time to do it right the first time. Someone once said that there's never enough time to do it right, but there's always enough time to do it over. One of the great time management techniques is to do it right the first time. And number 7, you can simplify the work by reducing the steps, eliminating steps or consolidating steps so that the job is much simpler and easier to get done. Now, the key to effective communication in working with others is clarity. And clarity requires time, attention, and patience. Someone once said that life is the study of attention, that you always pay attention to that which you most value. And all leaders are good listeners. They pay close attention to others. They pay close attention to details. They pay close attention to everything that is going on because they value it and it's important to them. Now, to delegate effectively in working with others, there are 6 steps. Step number 1, to match the person to the job. One of the greatest wastes of time in the world of work is delegating the task to the wrong person, delegating the task to the person who is not capable of doing it properly or in a time-effective way. Step number 2, once you've picked the right person, discuss with that person and agree upon what must be done. Agree upon the end result or the objective so that both of you are perfectly clear on what you're trying to accomplish. Step 3, is to explain to the person your preferred method of working. This is how you would like to see the job done. Step 4 is to ask him or her to feed it back to you in his or her own words. Have them feed it back and paraphrase it so that you and the other person both know that you have clear understanding on the goal or objective. Step number 5, set a deadline and arrange for periodic inspections. Step number 6, manage by exception whenever possible. Management by exception is a powerful time management tool in working with others. What it means is this, is if the job is on track and on schedule, the person doesn't have to report back to you. The person only has to report back to you when an exception occurs and the job is not being done as per the agreed schedule or the agreed standard. And with your boss, you also have to have clarity. One of the greatest reasons for frustration, unhappiness, and time wastage in the world of work is that we are not clear about exactly what it is our boss wants and needs and expects of us, and in what priority. So you have to ask your boss what is to be done and in what order of priority. One of the best techniques to achieve this is to make a list of everything that you feel that you're on the payroll to accomplish and take it to your boss and ask your boss to organize the list in order of priority. What does he or she consider to be the most important thing, the second most important thing, the third most important thing? Often this is a very revealing exercise, but let me point out one thing. It is only when you're working on what is most important to your boss that you can possibly have any chance of satisfying or pleasing your boss or being promoted or being paid more money. If you do everything on the list in an excellent fashion, but you do not do the things that are most important to your boss, for that very reason alone, it will interfere with your career. Now, there are 3 types of decisions in any organization. The 3 types of decisions are command decisions, consultative decisions, and consensus decisions. A command decision is a decision that has to be made by the boss or by the person in charge. This person is solely responsible for making up his or her mind about what is to be done. A consultative decision is a decision where the boss asks for advice and takes input from other people and then makes the decision. A consensus decision is a democratic decision. It's a decision where everybody gets involved and the decision is made by consensus. In other words, everybody mutually agrees on what we're going to do. One of the great problems in communications in working with others is confusion over which kind of a decision is being made. If people think it's a consensus decision and the boss feels it's a command or a consultative decision that he or she is going to make in the privacy of their own office or their own room, then there's going to be frustration and unhappiness. If, on the other hand, people think it's a command decision, in reality it is a consensus decision and the group is responsible for the decision, you're going to have a breakdown in communication and time wastage straightening it out. So it's very important to say at the beginning what kind of a decision this is. If the boss says this is a consensus decision, he says that you can decide this and whatever the group decides, that's what I'll go along with, and make it clear. Now, problem solving and working with others requires clarity, and problem solving is a key time management skill that you can learn. There are several steps to problem solving. I'll just talk about 6 of them right now. Number 1, what exactly is the problem? Define the problem clearly and, if possible, in writing. Remember, accurate diagnosis is half the cure. Sometimes writing the problem down on a flip chart or on a bulletin board and having everybody agree that, yes, that's the definition of the problem leads rapidly to a solution. Another technique you can use is to ask, what else is the problem? And what else in addition to that? Sometimes a problem is a cluster problem, where what appears to be a large problem is really 2 or 3 smaller problems that need to be broken out and defined separately. Now, the second step is to ask, how did it happen? What are all of the possible causes of this problem? What are the reasons for the problem? In other words, it is not enough to come up with a solution. It's important that one deals with the underlying causes that have triggered the problem in the first place. Number 3, ask, what are all the possible solutions? In other words, what are all the possible things that we could do to solve this problem? And this is a very important part of problem solving. Rather than leaping to the conclusion that there's only one answer, what you do is you write down as many different things that you can do to solve the problem and then select the very best decision. Number 4 is ask, which is the best solution? And why is it the best solution? Why is it superior to the others? Number 5 is to ask, what is our alternative solution? In other words, once you've decided on what the best solution is, ask yourself, if this solution doesn't work out, what would be our plan B? What would be our fallback option? What would we use as an alternative or a second solution? Thinking through an alternative solution is a very powerful mental exercise. And number 6, before you implement the solution, ask, what is the worst possible outcome of this solution? In other words, what's the worst possible thing that can happen if we go ahead with this solution or if we remain with this problem? Sometimes when you ask that question, you realize that the worst possible outcome may be too unpleasant to allow, and maybe the second alternative is better because the worst possible consequences of that solution are not as bad. This brings us to what is called the focus on contribution. The focus on contribution in an organization is the key to good communications and good teamwork. Good human relations come about when relationships are task-focused and aimed at achieving specific goals or solving specific problems. If relationships in the world of work are not task-focused, they have a tendency to become people-focused. Instead of becoming objective and measurable, they become subjective and personal and lead to all kinds of problems which lead to enormous losses of time. Participative management is a popular way of involving everybody in the decision-making process. However, participative management can lead to reverse delegation, and you have to be alert to this. Reverse delegation means that the job gets handed back up the chain of command to the boss rather than being handed down from the boss to the subordinate. You must resist upward or reverse delegation, and you must be aware that employees are always trying to delegate the job back to you. One of the ways that they delegate it back to you is they bring you a problem and they say, I don't know what to do in this situation, or can you call this person for me, or can you get this information that I need? And what happens is one by one they bring parts of their jobs back to you. You have to insist that they take it away with them. Avoid the tendency in working to go from managing to operating, which is falling back into your comfort zone. Most managers become managers because they're very good at lower level positions. When they get under stress or when they get overwhelmed with work, they have a tendency to stop managing, which means getting the job done through others, and start operating, which means going back and doing the job themselves. They start saying, well, if I want it done right, I have to do it myself. But in reality, a good manager is a person who makes sure that other people get it done right rather than going back and doing it themselves. 51% of the time of sales managers, for instance, is spent in non-management activities. That if sales managers would just spend their time in management, they could double their productivity and their effectiveness. So push on others everything that can possibly be done by them. This is one of the keys to working with others, is to delegate and outsource everything. Take the time to train and to teach subordinates and others in order to build their competence so that you can delegate even more. Teaching other people how to do a job is a very high payoff investment of time, because once you've taught somebody else how to do part of your work, you can always delegate it and free yourself for other work. The major problem and time waster in communications and in working with others is fuzzy understanding. The antidote to fuzzy understanding, and one of the greatest time management tools of all, is clarity. Clarity, clarity. And clarity is achieved through repetition, discussion, feedback, and agreement. So take the time to learn how to be a good communicator. It will pay off in tremendous time savings, and it will pay off in every area of your life and work.